Monterey Peninsula is known for this beautiful coastline, sea otters playing, everything's a little quiet at Stillwater Cove. And it's a pretty peaceful place. But it's so interesting to be here at Pebble Beach during Car Week because it's like a completely different place than it is the rest of the year. This time of year you can really hear the roar of the engines and the excitement and everything that makes it all about the classic cars. The Pebble Beach Concours Week sort of kicks off on Thursday with a fantastic tour that takes us 70 miles all the way down to Big Sur through so many beautiful places on the Monterey Peninsula.
I'm standing next door to the car that will start the tour. It's a Sterling Moss. It's a gull-wing Mercedes-Benz 300 SL. Great joy to see Sir Sterling. I know you look forward to coming here every year.
Every year, I mean, it's an absolute must. It's a fabulous trip, and anybody who hasn't done it ought to try and do it, because it really is wonderful. This time, I think Jochen hopefully is going to drive, and then I'll be able to look around.
I'm here with Jochen Mass, who has a distinct privilege of being able to drive Sir Sterling Moss in this Mercedes-Benz gull-wing. Jochen, I know you're looking forward to this, aren't you?
Absolutely, it's the first time in all these years I'm coming here. First time I managed to do this morning drive. I very much look forward to it. I think it's beautiful. And of course with Sterling next to me, we're going to have fun.
And it seems like a lot of fun, but it's pretty serious as well. Because day of show, if your judges are sort of in a tie situation, the car that went on the tour gets the nod. And I can tell you that more than once, this determined best of show.
So very exciting, especially today, this morning, on the Friday morning before the event. We're here on the original start-finish straightaway of where the Pebble Beach road races took place. In fact, the Pebble Beach road races were the whole reason for the events taking place up here back in the early 1950s. And the Concours was actually just a supporting event to the actual road races.
Sports car racing was really unknown. It started pretty much 1948 on the East Coast. But 1950 was the breakthrough on the West Coast, and was started really by Achille Cavalli and prevailed upon the people at Pebble Beach to allow them to put the race on there, and that started this whole tradition.
Let's get this race started.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
And go. Pace car, go. You know, when I used to come up here with my father, he would take us around sometimes in a car around the forest, and he'd like to try and retrace the old track, and it was hard for me to imagine that there was a racetrack around here.
You can't always go back in time, but we can live a little bit of it through these fantastic pieces of history, and I want to thank you all for bringing them back to Pebble Beach, back to where this all started 65 years ago, so hats off to all of you as well.
The early races that took place at Pebble Beach were very exciting for both the competitors and the crowd, but unfortunately after a couple of nasty fatal accidents they realised they had to move the racing somewhere else, and the Laguna Seca Raceway got built. I'm here with George Wingard, who is probably the most important of entrants of wonderful pre-Second World War and not very often pre-First World War behemoths. George, this is a 1922 Delage. I know it's called the L'Utopie, but tell us about the car. It's a beautiful machine.
Well, it was a very successful car for Delage, and Delage liked to sell cars, so that's why he raced.
Well, I know you've got some photographs of this machine when it was relatively new, and that this engine turning we see all over the body, I think you've copied that, haven't you, from the photograph?
My artist who did this designed his own turning method. So it was 700 hours of work. We found we needed a computer to figure out the angles and the tail. We don't know what they used, but they had some excellent craftsmen in those days.
I'm here with Jim Marietta and Ted Sutton. What's special about them? These gentlemen, just over 50 years ago, were working at Carroll Shelby's plant in Venice. That's the old Lance Raventlow plant where he built the Scarabs. And these guys had the job of building GT350s, and of course that's where the first R-Type was built too.
It seems like yesterday, actually.
Yeah.
They were so unique and exciting, and you got to use your own ideas on putting things together. And it was a very inspiring place to work. It really was. So I wanted to recreate these cars as close to the way we did it 50 years ago as possible, and try and capture a little of the lightning in the bottle like we did 50 years ago.
One of the very best happenings that I have found here at Laguna Seca is Jim and Jan Shield and their 1965 Shelby GT350. They had already been married for 14 years when they bought this car in 1965, and here they are, still racing it.
This car has had more impact on our life than any one of those other events. Our children have track raced the car, our grandkids have raced the car, and now we've got an 8-year-old great-granddaughter who loves to sit in the car on the seat and jerk the steering wheel back and forth. And so who knows, Alan, what'll happen next?
Vintage and historic racing has very much become a family activity these days, and none more so perhaps than Lynn Park and his family. He's known as Mr. Cobra. He's been racing one of these FIA spec Shelby Cobras for years and years and years, and now he's joined by his 2 sons. Lynn, you are Mr. Cobra, but there's something very special, obviously, about these early Cobras that get you more excited than the later ones, because I know you've got certainly 4 of them here. Tell me about it.
Well, the 289 Cobra is where they started first, and that's kind of what's important. The first one to come along is always the best, and it's just a daintier looking, feels more nimble on the track. It's got the more primitive suspension, and it's just more fun to drive, for me at least.
Well, you've got your sons driving with you now as well. I mean, that must be a really satisfying thing. It's kind of like a family outing, isn't it?
And they're better drivers than I am, but they respect the cars. They don't over-rev them. They don't break them. They realize we can't drive a broken car. And they are so much fun to watch because they are so good and yet work well within the rules, and just they're fun.
I'm here with Joe Colasaco, who has just had the intense joy, I have no doubt, he's going to tell us, of driving a TZ1 Alfa Romeo. Joe, you know this car, it's like a glove, isn't it, almost?
It is, actually. We've put in a lot of laps on this car, and it's been in part of our race team for since 2001, and the history behind Alfa is incredible. It's an incredible mark, and myself personally have an attachment. My dad was a chief of service of the United States for Alfa from 68 to 81, so Alfa sent the family here, and Alfa's been in our bloods ever since.
Derek, you're driving your old mate El Bruto. This is a car and a half, I believe, to drive.
Oh, absolutely. But it is really a joy to drive. Once you can tame it, so to speak, it's a great car. It's got a beast of a 4-liter V8, a lot of torque, makes a great sound, so it's very inspiring. As long as you remember to put your earplugs in, you feel the car and you feel the revs. It's a lot of fun.
Tom Price, you've been racing here for just about as long as I can remember, and you always have tasty machinery, but is it difficult to choose which car to race?
Well, it's a lot of it depends on the schedule and when we're going to do it, but I'm lucky enough to bring some really great cars out and have a great time with them. I think, my favorite car is my 8C, but I've done over 190 races in the GTOs in time, and so I'm really love running it.
I think you and Lord Bamford are the only people, that's who I drive for, because in the TT, any people actually prepared to risk their genuine GTO racing. But that's what the car was built for, that's what it loves to do.
Yeah, everybody's respectful of the cars. It's great to see them out, and we probably care more about the car than we do our bodies, so we take good care of them.
Isn't it great to be here with all these great cars and car people? And I think you're going to hear from some great people today, and they each have their own perspective on cars. And how they delight us and add to our lives. And it's because of Credit Suisse that we're able to have these forums.
Today, we have the great privilege of learning about why we collect the cars we collect. And our dear friend, Alain de Cadenet, is going to introduce our guests and kick off the panel. Thank you all for being here.
And so you want to buy something that appeals to you on on all those levels.
Credit Suisse supports us in so many ways. We wouldn't have the automotive forum over at Retro Auto, great speaker series, without the support of Credit Suisse.
It's fun to lock things up in a garage. It's a wonderful thing, but what a wonderful outlet for cars and things actually put in business so people can enjoy it. And it was really fun. My wife kind of has been writing letters to that to a television show, and she says, you better get this out of our house because you know, or you're going to be on the hoarding show.
That's right. We watch the hoarding show and go, so what's wrong? I don't care.
I've been saying that for years.
Sunday morning here at Pebble Beach. There are lots of truly wonderful, delicious cars out there.
It's quite a thrill to be down here. This is probably the most prestigious car show in the world.
I'm often asked, why is Pebble Beach Concours so special? Why is the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance the world-class event that it is? And it's really because of the participants. When I think of a typical Pebble Beach collector, I'm amazed by what they do. They're passionate about the cars. They have a persistence that's unbelievable. They want to make these cars perfect. The car guys make Pebble Beach.
It's absolutely about the cars. It's so wonderful to see all of the hard work that the people who have come here, who have the cars in the Concours, and all the love and the care that they've taken to their vehicles, and to really see kind of the epitome of what each car should be.
We're very honored to be invited to the very first Ferrari preservation class here at Pebble Beach. It's the holy grail of car shows in the world.
It's a chance of a lifetime.
We bring a car almost every year. We've been coming since the mid-'80s, and we really enjoy being here and being invited, and it's a big deal for us.
Of course, the backdrop of Pebble Beach is fantastic and it's gorgeous. And at the same time, it's also about the people. I kind of joke it's like a family reunion every year because you come and you see people that you may not have seen during the year, and it's a wonderful social event.
We're pretty excited this year that we're also hitting $20 million in charitable monies that we're leaving here on the Monterey Peninsula. It's sort of our legacy over the last 65 years.
$20 million?
Every year, you got to come back. This is the culmination of all the car shows in the world.
The very best cars coming from all over the world, along with some really tough judges. And I think that makes the difference.
I knew I had a car that could compete. And it's a little personal, but I can tell you that I said a little prayer that I win or lose gracefully. So I was preparing to lose gracefully. And so I'm really delighted to win it.
Congratulations. To present the trophy. Winning here really means something.
With a 1937 Delahaye 145 Rene Cabriolet. The name SS was originally from the Swan